What's good? What's good? YouTube. Super late night video here. Actually, technically, early morning video here. And actually, I have my lighting up here. I have a light stand and then a good LED light up there. Because my light on the ceiling actually isn't working right now. Like, I need to replace that light bulb. But then I have this lighting that I got actually a while ago when I got my camera. And it's pretty dang good, honestly. I mean, it's completely dark in my room except for that light right now, and it's pretty good on the camera. Honestly, it's you couldn't even tell it lights up almost my whole room here. So that's pretty chillin'. Yeah, I haven't posted in a while, or I mean, it's been like a couple days, I think, but that's a while compared to like the rate I was posting at. But yeah, then I'll respond to your comments later too. Like all the people that commented, especially the regular commenters. Like that's actually how I noticed I've been away for a while, cause like I haven't responded to those comments in a while. So I'll get to those maybe when I wake up tomorrow. But yeah, so I'm just gonna say, like, in this day and age, we're at a point where you should do what you want to do. As long as it's kind of productive, eventually you'll get rewarded. So gone are the days where, let's say, if you had to, when roles were more quote unquote traditional, or whatever you want to call it, and you would have to like suck it up and maybe do a job you didn't like, or for a long period of time, or I don't know, do any number of things that you didn't necessarily want to do in order to like provide for a family or provide for the community or like the general nation or something like that, or to even just not fall victim to some of the, what do we want to call it, some of the like social backlash for not adhering to the general narrative of what people generally think you should be doing, or not following the status quo, I guess is a good way of saying that. Gone are those days now, like here in 2021 in the 21st century, because I mean, it's obvious, right? I said this in another video where there's no set rules to follow really anymore that everybody follows. Everybody's kind of in their own subculture now, to the point where even if there's no general thought of, okay, this is what I should be doing, especially when you get older. When you're a kid, maybe you're like, or when you're like in high school, maybe you're like, okay, I should go to college, etc. But even that now is not. That's like about 5 to 6 years ago for me. That whole thought process of like, oh, should I go to college and all that stuff. So I'm not really in that anymore, as many Gen Zers might be. But just after this COVID thing, I'm not even certain that is a general thought process of like, oh, I should probably go to college and get a good job and stuff like that. Or that's the only way to do it, because we're seeing so many examples of people on a daily basis of people doing something else and it actually working out. From even back when I was in high school, all of these different ways to make money, you didn't really know this stuff back then, like when you were that young. Maybe people knew it later, but when I was at that point and that young, I didn't really know it as much. But now with the proliferation of like how popular just things like YouTube are, Twitch, just people streaming stuff and making money, people doing OnlyFans and making money. I mean, come on, there are like chicks in high school doing that, but probably selling feet pictures and shit. I don't know anybody personally, but like I've heard it happen. I've heard about it happening, and like, just come on. Like, with the amount of like single parents and shit, I'm almost positive that's just happening. But now that people are seeing all of these different avenues of doing things from an earlier age, like, I just don't see there's no general narrative. Like, there are just so many options, I think, that you shouldn't settle for like a less than optimal like pathway for yourself, if that makes sense. And the risk that you take is it's gonna take a while, probably, especially if you're new to kind of thinking this way. For me, I left school, it's like a year and 2 months ago now, about a year and 2.5 months now. And I started the channel in October of last year. So it took me overall about a year to kind of find my pathway. I thought my pathway was going to be through this school route, but then I got off of that pathway because I realized, okay, like, just personally, I had a gripe with giving people those drugs, like, because I was going to be a pharmacist, so I had a gripe with dispensing those drugs when I knew that, okay, this is literally either prolonging the inevitable if they don't make lifestyle changes, or it's actually killing them faster if they end up taking these drugs and then they don't make certain lifestyle changes. Like, so, and there's the fact that that was so prevalent with so many classes of diseases and so many classes of drugs. It would be one thing if it was a few classes of drugs where I was like kind of iffy about it, but the fact that there were so many and we weren't getting at the root cause of the diseases. And then once I got further into the program, I learned how a lot of the money is made. I was like, okay, I couldn't do that with good conscience. So, and it was a risk to leave, but I'm like really glad I left now, even though I was floundering to a little bit, to be honest. But I think that risk is worth taking, and it's worth floundering a little bit, even if you get hated on and basically shit on, kind of. Even currently, I'm still kind of getting shit on from friends and family, but at this point, to be honest, because at some point, if you just keep going, like, it's like an immovable object, just be an immovable object, basically, for that time while you're trying to get it started. Later, you can be more malleable, but you have to be an immovable object when you start off on the path, because it's not going to work at first and you're going to kind of doubt yourself on it. But that's why I say you have to be certain that you want to find the way through it, because you might even go through certain things where, like, okay, this isn't it either, that's not it either. And you have to just be confident that you want to see through the process, and then eventually you're going to find that thing to where you'll know it. You'll know, because if you're excited to do it and you're kind of nervous, and then you're like really down on yourself when you think you did something wrong on it, and then you kind of continually perform experiments with it. That's what I've noticed, that with this YouTube thing and like some of the software stuff I'm doing, that kind of just excitement and like wanting to see, okay, what if I try this, what if I try that, like that's I think that's when you kind of know, okay, this is probably gonna be that something that I can do long term and really make something out of it. And just, yeah, basically that, like, this could be my pathway, pretty much. You're gonna know it from early on, and then it'll just grow from there. Like this channel, for example, up to 63 subscribers, and it's pretty fun to do. Like I said, gone are the days where like work is shitty and it's a struggle. Because back then you would have the promise of, okay, I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for the community. I'm doing this for something. And that would make you feel whole. But at this point, there's none of that. And that's also what I realized in school. I was like, wait, so I would be doing this for what? Basically just a paycheck? And that paycheck, if it's the paycheck that makes you feel whole, then by all means do it. But you have to have something that makes you feel whole, because I see no point in this day and age of like sacrificing yourself like that for the community just because there's no general community. You can find this sub community and then go ahead and like make sacrifices for that sub community, like as long as you're kind of getting that reciprocal give get. Just you have to find the proper sub community. If you have a family, go ahead and do that for that, and then the family is like, going good, because there's all this thing about families these days. But if you have a proper situation in terms of the home life with that family, then go ahead and like make those sacrifices to keep that household strong. Do whatever job, do whatever you gotta do, make the money you gotta make, etc. But if you're kind of in the situation where I was, where you're kind of like, okay, what is gonna be my pathway, and that's kind of still up in the air, I would definitely, you gotta take the risk of just going for it, in terms of like dropping the stuff that isn't really fulfilling, and then going toward like just trying to find it for at first, because you're gonna have to find it. It's not necessarily gonna drop in your lap. You're gonna have to like try to find it a little bit, and that might take, for me it was about about a year, to be honest. And then a couple months ago, it started getting to the point where I'm like, this is going somewhere. So it's gonna be a while before you're like, I could actually really see a future with this. But I think you owe it to yourself in this kind of society, because one, so it's so doable. It's so doable to like kind of go on your own path and like see what you can make out of something, because there are so many different avenues now. So one, it's so doable, and two, there's no real kind of glued together community to where you kind of have to sacrifice yourself and not go after what engages you, if that makes sense. So those are the two kind of big reasons, like, that I would say kind of try to find your path here. It's MGTOW, right? You guys already know this to a certain extent. Like, how far you've gone down the path, that depends, right? How, like, it might be part of the reason why you're following me, like following this channel, like to see what another person is doing with all this, maybe maybe you got red pilled, like with all that information. Maybe, maybe you got out of school like I did, like, maybe you learned about like money and shit like I did, whatever your pathway happens to be. Like, I think in this day and age, just take that, it could be even many years, like, but just take that time to figure out. And it probably, to be honest, won't be many years if you just like drop all that other bullshit that you were doing and then just focus on, okay, what do I want to, like, just ask yourself some tough questions, basically, to be honest. Like what if I died and nothing happened? Like, what would I want to happen before I died, basically? like who are like my friends and who actually cares about what I'm doing, etc. Like just ask yourself those like tough questions, to be honest. Like some of those questions are uncomfortable. I don't even know like the random questions I asked myself, to be honest, over the past year. Like some of those are like kind of uncomfortable, but like to even discuss if I even remembered them. But just ask yourself that tough shit and just get it over with, to be honest. Just like try to do that shit as quick as possible and just try to get that shit over with so then you can move forward and like really start just acting out what you want to do. Right. And then there are so many avenues to do it, but you won't really know it until you just kind of get started. So that's why I would encourage you to like keep it going. And honestly, YouTube's a great thing, like straight up. If you like shit, if you go like just post a video, like go video for video with me, honest. Like if I post a video and then you post a video, or like maybe I post a couple of videos, because I'm kind of getting pretty good at like volume of content now. So like maybe I post two, you post one, or some shit. Like and just like talk about shit basically, like until you find out what it is, like that you got basically, like well what pathway you want to take. Is there are so many channels with so many dudes like figuring shit out that you'll find some kind of community. Like I come across a shit ton of MGTOW channels with like, you know, sub 100 subscribers, sub 1,000 subscribers, etc. And like leave comments on these guys' videos, because like we're all basically like figuring out, okay, what happened here, basically. Like you have a shit ton of men around the world, literally, like around, I live in the United States, so definitely around this country, but even further, like around the world. I get people commenting on my videos from like Brazil, even straight up Brazil. Like so there are people, like men all around the world, saying basically, okay, so what happened here? Like how do we move forward with this? Like what is the purpose here? And it feels like kind of good to be part of that process, to be honest. So if that's like whatever you path you want to take, I mean shit, post it on YouTube, like honestly, because I feel like that will accelerate your process of like getting into like your pathway. Like because all these dudes comparing notes, like that shit's revolutionary. Like each day I'm like, dang, like all these dudes comparing notes, and something will come out of it too. Like there will be something coming out of it, because you don't get this much like energy and momentum and nothing happens. Like this is all potential energy still right now. A lot of this is still potential. Like it will grow into kinetic slowly for any of those guys, for any guys who like physics, like what is it, straight line momentum, straight line physics. I forgot what the class was I took in high school, where we were talking about those topics, but yeah, like there's a lot of potential energy right now. Like that's all I know, and it's cool to see that rolling over, and we'll continue it too. Like so much of this shit is honestly pretty cool. So like I don't know, overall I guess just find that path for yourself, and like shit, sky's like past the sky's the limit. Like sky is the limit. But even past that, like there's this song from the Underachievers. I don't know if the Underachievers, you should look up those dudes if you're into rap music at all. The Underachievers. Type in the Underachievers Indigoism. That's their first mixtape. Indigoism. Indigo and then just ism at the end. Just like freaking blow your mind. Like when I first heard that tape, I was like, dude, my mind was like blown off. I was like, whoa, that shit was nuts. That was crazy. That was the beginning of my college. The first year of my college was that mixtape and Section 80 by Kendrick Lamar. Like if you guys like rap music at all, shit blew my mind. What a year that was, but that was way before I even knew about Red Pill or anything like that, or MGTOW. But yeah. So but they say in that, and then on that mixtape, on one song they say, "Fuck the skies, the limit is the solars." So I think that's true. the limit is like past the sky. It's like the universe. Like we're going into like the universe, the solar system with some of this shit. And that might be an over exaggeration, and I also might just be like happy that like it's like a survivor bias thing. But I think everyone will be a survivor, but you just have to go through that like year or two of like bullshit basically and like getting shit on. But I really think it's like a new 21st century like shit coming out now, like with MGTOW, red pill, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Because we got screwed, right? Basically what happened was, I'll try to wrap it up, but like dang, I got a lot to say, and I'll have more videos, but obviously like what happened was you had families were a big thing, then like birth control and like sexual revolution and all that shit happened middle of last century. And since then, dudes have been trying to catch up basically. Like men have been pretty much trying to catch up with that. And women have not also they've also really not known what to do, because with that kind of power, like a lot of women got even screwed over too, to be 100% honest, like because like you move too fast at some point, like some things you move too fast on and you can't really get it back because you just went way past, like without even knowing it, you just went way past what you probably should have done. And then you just can't really go back because you just like saw too much on the other side of it. So that I feel like society did that. Like we went way past where we should have gone. Like with introduce the new technology like birth control, and then like we went way past. Like it was a good technology, but we just like overshot what we probably should have done. And now like you've had a few generations, we're a few generations into that, and now we're like, okay, wait, like what, like we can't, we're like falling off a cliff, so we gotta like think about what we're gonna do about it here. And that's the transition stage we're in right now. So I think we're in that transition stage because so many societies across the world got like overshot. So now we kind of have to say, okay, what are we gonna do? And a shit ton of people already got screwed, and we're probably gonna have another generation of like a lot of people to get screwed, and like women most affected straight up, because I think like it's literally women most affected, to be honest. Like think about how many women are gonna be single and childless, and that's what a woman doesn't want, straight up. Like it's one thing, like we always say here, it's one thing if a man is single and childless. No one really cares, to be honest. No one cares because it's a man. But the amount of women that are about to be like screwed over because a man will just go and like do his own thing and that's it. Like he won't even, unless like maybe if he's young enough, like he'll bother people, or honestly sometimes they shoot up people. I had a video about mass shootings, right? To be honest, we might see more of those, unfortunately, but the vast majority of men won't do that. They'll just like, they'll just dip pretty much. But women doing that, like we haven't seen that shit before. We haven't seen a bunch of women like in the same position as like a man, to where like they're just gonna kind of get forgotten like that. So like, and it's like already happening. Like I'm telling you, like when I go outside, there are chicks that are in their 30s looking at me, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, I mean, shit. And they have their own money, obviously. Like because I live kind of in the countryside, so I just see this on average when I go to the freaking store. Like this is just going to Winko. Like I'm not going to a bar. I'm not going to a nightclub. Like this isn't like a nightlife scene or anything like that. This is literally just average day going to Winco to get groceries. Like this, we're not talking about seedy, like seedy situations or anything like that. Like this is on average girls that are in school. That's why you see the perpetual schooling and all this student debt. Chicks are staying in school for like 10 years just looking for that MRS degree. Like studying. I mean, I saw this one girl. My friend was talking to this one girl actually, who literally had 6 associate's degrees. Like 6 associate's degrees. Think about that. Like, shit. And I was like, I mean, do you want to help me program? Because she knew some computer shit too. So I was like, you want to help me program? Like, but I didn't. And she was pretty too. She was Eastern European. I was like, wait, so this pretty Eastern European girl has 6 degrees, is in her mid-30s, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, she looked like she could have been in her 20s. Shit, like, I was like, dang. I mean, she was pretty, but it's like, what was I gonna do? Like, no one. I mean, my buddy wasn't. Or my buddy was definitely trying to get in her pants. I think he already hit that, to be honest. But he wasn't trying to marry her, right? He wasn't trying to marry her. He tried to kind of introduce her to me a little bit, but I'm like, one, I ain't got the funds for that, and two, like, what am I? I mean, what am I gonna do with that, right? Like, dude, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. So it's crazy, man. And she was pretty too. Like, she was literally pretty. Like, had nice long hair. But dude, I'm like, so just like, dang, the amount of chicks mid-30s, 40s, man. Like, that's all I gotta say. Like, that's a tragedy, man. Is all I'm gonna say on that. But yeah, that's the video. Like, comment and subscribe, man. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. I'll try to get back on my track here. Cause I was AFK a little bit. I was AFK, man. But we're in for some crazy times. That's all I gotta say. Peace out, y'all.